New question. The member from Thornhill.
To the Minister of Health and Long-Term Care. Mr. Speaker, we are joined in the gallery today by patients and their families suffering from a brain-threatening disease called PKU. Comme le ministre le sait,
As the Minister knows, PKU is a hereditary illness that you find in 1 in every 12,000 newborns in Canada. The new medication has been approved in 2010 and it was classified in 2013.
Single Ontario patient has gained access to Kuvan due to this government's highly restrictive criteria. En fait, les trois seuls qui ont
People who have applied for this treatment were rejected.
Advocates has actually filed a complaint to the College of Physicians and Surgeons because of frustration with this government's mishandling of the file. Mr. Speaker, let me say it again. Not one single patient has received the treatment that government officials have approved. Est-ce que cela vous semble juste?
Is this fair to you?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the question. I think the member opposite knows that we took the politics out of funding drugs in this province, and our decisions on which drugs to fund are based on science and evidence, Mr. Speaker. In the case of Kuvan, in 2011, the National Common Drug Review issued a do-not-list recommendation for the drug. Twice, the province reviewed Kuvan, both reviews resulting in a do-not-list recommendation. But despite 3 negative recommendations, Mr. Speaker, Ontario in February of 2013, since that time, we have been funding through our Exceptional Access Program Kuvan on a case-by-case basis. The criteria for funding were established with input from the manufacturer and from clinicians who treat PKU. In June of this year, the manufacturer BioMarin informed the ministry that they now intend to file a resubmission to the Common Drug Review. We look forward to seeing that submission and reviewing it for the 4th time, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Again, to the minister, I think the question here is that the criteria is too difficult, and the government knows that 2 years ago, all of Ontario's specialists who treat PKU wrote to the government to express their concerns with the criteria.
They have given suggested revisions in order to be sure that patients would receive the treatment they really need. But to date, these experts were ignored.
Again written to you to express their continued frustration at the lack of Kuvan access in Ontario. Monsieur le Président, je vais
Mr. Speaker, a page will give to the minister a medical proof that says that we have to modify those criteria. A proof that the ministry has chosen to ignore.
So these patients can receive the treatment they desperately need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do want to acknowledge the advocates and patients who are here today. This is an incredibly challenging and life-threatening illness. But, Mr. Speaker, Saskatchewan is the only other Canadian jurisdiction to list Kuvan with precisely the same criteria as Ontario. BC chose not to list the drug. Quebec funds maternal PKU, which is the case in Ontario as well. This indication is also covered in Ontario, and Quebec considers other requests on a case-by-case basis. Alberta was identified by advocates as funding. We found out that this was through a temporary disability program. Alberta no longer funds PKU. It's not funded in the UK. It's not funded in New Zealand. We need to be consistent, Mr. Speaker, take the politics out of this, make our decisions based on science and good evidence. Notwithstanding that, Mr. Speaker, we have made this drug available on an exceptional access basis to those individuals who truly do need it, where it has been proven to be beneficial.
Thank you.